before it'd be like, I feel a thing, right? I think of something or I read a book, whatever.
Yeah.
And the inclination is like, I'm going to tweet or I'm going to post something or I'm going to instead of like sit with it and write a fucking song.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Aloud podcast. In this season, Jen and Henry break down the writing and recording of the latest Aloud album, Apollo 6. Since they've lived the majority of their lives in Boston and Miami, bad language is liberally used. So if you're listening at work and have issues with foul words like fuck, shit, and Ted Cruz, you've been duly warned. Have it!
Moons of the morning.
Track 4, Morning Moon.
To be lost inside the scrum. We are nothing and no one beyond the orphan children of the sun. To be a morning moon. No one wants to be the rain in June.
I do love the way this worked out where the seagulls segue into the bird sounds.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of transitions on this record. And that was one of the nicer ones. So that, meditation ends with the seagulls. I think that may be also why we took out the bell. Because it's like, okay, now we can have the seagulls from meditation merge into the birds, on Morning Moon, like the birds chirping in the morning on Morning Moon, which are actual birds.
Yeah. So
outside our window.
Yeah. So the thing, and this would have been like again that April. Like I can't remember exactly when some were to be happening in relation to this one, but it was very, had to have been within a week.
Very close by.
Maybe even 2 weeks, right? But it was this thing where like I've gone on at length about this for years, right? But like. My like relationship to like social media is bad. And I mean, not to get on a high horse, but it's all bad. It's all fucking terrible. And I constantly struggle with like trying to like detach from that poison. Right.
Yeah. Well, and especially folks that like in a band, like you feel like you got to be on there.
Yeah.
Promoting your shit all the time, and it's like none of us need to be doing this. In fact,
Yeah, I've
fucks you up.
I have been completely off it for a while now, and I feel great.
Good for you.
If you are sending me messages, I love you. I don't know. I haven't seen them, but the point I bring that up because and especially again early or year in the pandemic.
Yeah.
You're just glued to this shit because like how else are you gonna
Yeah. And what is your only connection to the outside world?
Right, yeah. And that's the thing I was like kind of asking myself, especially when I'm trying to like sort of tap into myself again.
Right. Be creative.
And be creative, and not just be creative, but like
express
be true.
Yourself.
Right, like express myself,
be
right?
Authentic,
so yeah, so I kind of made like a very conscious thing of like sort of breaking myself of the habit of like before it'd be like, I feel a thing, right? I think of something or I read a book, whatever.
Yeah.
And the inclination is like, I'm going to tweet or I'm going to post something or I'm going to instead of like sit with it and write a fucking song.
Right.
Or don't.
Right.
Or just, you know what I mean? Right. And I was very, very deliberately trying to be like, if I had like a feeling, sit with it.
Yeah.
Reflect on it. Don't pick up your goddamn phone.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is just like pumping more content into the fucking ad machine,
right?
Instead of creating something real,
right?
And from myself, right? So that's kind of where my head was at, and
that's the reason we picked up guitars, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, there was like I got to a place where like I was just kind of like naturally waking up like pretty early, like anywhere between like 5 in the morning and like 7:30, just like without an alarm. Just like I was just naturally, and I love it because, that's usually like a rare moment where I just like the world is dead except for me.
Yeah,
right?
the silence of the morning is
it's
beautiful.
silent. I could just make my coffee.
I wish I could get myself up that early, man. But
I
no way.
hope you don't. And I say that with love.
I know. Well, I'd hope you
But-
go back to bed and I get up. You know, I never get, folks, I never get the apartment to myself in the mornings because he's always up. There's maybe been, I can remember a Saturday in recent memory where he was actually still sleeping, and I was like, well, I'm just getting up because I want coffee. And it was so fucking great.
It happens.
But it doesn't, you know, I don't get that opportunity very often.
Yeah. No, it was.
Yeah, it was
You know,
fucking great. Henry.
It was
Yeah.
fucking great. Don't take this away from me.
Fuck off.
I have to constantly share my space.
All right, well, keep sharing your feelings.
I will share my feelings on this podcast. Yes. So, you know, it's like it's still dark out, you know, and like I was going for walks like
Yeah.
around the neighborhood, and that's where the bird song kind of comes in. Like I just was like, you know what? Let me just pull my phone out. It's like every fucking morning, folks. Like now I'll go for
Yeah.
walks and I'll hear the birds, and like for a second I'm like I think the song's on, and it's just the fucking birds.
For a while living here, I was like, is that fake? Is someone's
yeah.
alarm going off? It's like, no, those are just birds chirping outside the window.
Yeah. So, you know, so I go for my walk and, you know, get back, make some coffee, and, you know, I'm like sitting out on the, you know, on this stoop or whatever. And, you know, the sun's like just starting to come out, but you can still see the moon. And, you know, again, it's just like, you know, Randy Newman writing about Reddy Seas. Yeah, I see a moon and it's the morning. But, you know, just
great, you know.
yeah.
great idea.
And, you know, but then there's like the sort of like creativity and like reflection of it.
Yeah.
Where, you know, ordinarily I'd which I did take a photo. But, you know, the inclination is like, I'm going to post this to Instagram and say something deep or meaningful. And, you know, I stop myself and I'm like, no, I'm just going to fucking sit here and I'm going to keep reading, you know, whatever. I think I was reading like a Carl Sagan book.
Yeah.
It was The Demon Haunted World, I think it was. Yeah. And, you know, just it's like the confluence of like different things, you know, like the moon and the daytime and like Science Man. And
inspired by the cosmos.
You know, and the coffee, you know, and
it sounds like a beautiful moment.
No, this is important. I didn't have coffee yet. Because so it's like it's all coming together, and I just started like kind of writing lyrics, you know, it's like, what does like a morning moon mean? You know, so I just started thinking like, it's like out of place.
Right. Fish out of water.
Yeah, fish out of water kind of thing.
Shouldn't be out.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, you just kind of fucking run with that. It's
totally.
Like, it was very
great idea.
You know, and you know, I just had the electric, but like just, you know, obviously unplugged in the living room, like very just quiet, you know, so I don't wake anybody up.
Wake me up, huh?
And you know, I make my coffee, and that's where like the sort of split in the song happens, where it's just like
where it becomes a totally different song.
It becomes a different song, and it's just like before coffee, after coffee, like kind of contemplative, and then just like fuck everything.
Now we're raging,
and and let's lower all the sciencey stuff and like syzygy and like
you know, right.
And it's just sort of this like, again, it was like a very Strawberry Fields-esque thing of just like
love that
mishmash of like it's just sort of my quiet railing against like, why do people actually believe in astrology, and then flipping that on its thing of like, well, we're all full of shit, aren't we? Like even me.
Elevating cosmic pedantry, awaiting the next syzygy, confederates of shared hypocrisy.
Basically, folks, I contributed the less syzygy sounds and songs and bits where it's basically just that no one wants to be a morning moon. I was like, we need to say morning moon again because it's the title of the song, Henry. So we're going to tag at the end of the song with this.
That's the struggle.
This is where the musicality comes in.
That's always the struggle between you and me. It's just like, it's the fucking title. Fuck them. You're like, no, you got to say it again. It's
well, it's just another little hook at the end. You know what I mean?
And then the last thing I'll say too is when I was recording the demo for that, and going back to the music concrete and the bird sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
I was very sad this didn't make it onto the final, but I recorded the sound of the espresso machine.
Right.
And I timed it with the da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, and then when the guitar comes in, the coffee machine just grinding percolating.
Vibrating, yeah.
So it's like on the demo album, but I was like right up until the end, we were like in the studio putting the last touches on it, and you and Charles was like, this doesn't make any sense.
It's just going to be distracting because the music is already making it so big that you're just going to be like, what is that?
Yeah,
you won't be able to make it out. If it was more obvious, and or if music wasn't doing that, if it was a different kind of song, if it didn't change so suddenly.
Right. And then the drums that Jago put on there, I think he
very
like
Ringo,
after
very Ringo.
And this is fine because he's from Liverpool, so it's perfectly permissible for him. But, he like after the record was done, and then this is the bit I think of, the the fucking Abbey Road thing.
Yeah, the drum solo thing.
He was just like, I just realized that this like album is my love letter to Ringo.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
I'm like, oh,
Well, you're in the right band, my friend.
Yeah.
You're in the right band.
Grew up in the right city.
Across the street from Ringo's childhood home.
Yeah, and then it's like another one where we put a flute on it because you're like, oh fuck, just keep going with this, man.
That's got another
real beautiful like
flute featurette.
That's nice.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I mean the beginning of that song is so acoustic in the woods almost. You know what I mean? Like it's very like I don't know, dreamy, and a lot of acoustic warm instruments on it. There is an electric guitar, but it's very ghosty. It's with like a slide guitar. It's got like a flute, acoustic drums. There is a bass on it, but it's, mild. You know what I mean? Like it's not full on. And then going in, and then there's even congas on it, conga drums.
Oh, that's right.
Flute, and then it goes into the wild rock song. For me, you know what? There is a track on the Rolling Stones, Goat's Head Soup, that sort of reminds me of like the very end of that. Like I had that. In mind,
I was definitely trying to channel like Nick with the no one wants to be. I mean, it comes out as me, but that was like in my head.
But that was, he was like you as Jagger. Yeah, totally. Because like in my head, I'm thinking of something. I can't remember the track now. Maybe it's Sticky Fingers I'm thinking of. Like maybe Moonlight Mile.
Yeah, that's the one I was like thinking of.
Great song. It doesn't have that rock ending, but it does have that dreamy. It's just very dreamy, like surreal, just like the beginning of that track. And I remember having that track in my head going in to record that, and just it's great.
No, that song just means a lot to me because it's just like a pastiche of a lot of different things, and like specifically like that. I'm glad I could finally fit the fucking word petrichor in there.
Big word.
I learned that word at one of those little gas stations. I was pumping gas, and it's like word of the day, petrichor, and basically it is the scent of rain before, like it's just like it's that rain smell before it actually
on
rains.
Asphalt, that word, when it's about to come down.
And that was that's like a smell. Just growing up in Florida, that smell it just brings me such joy. And for just being at this like shitty gas station and saying like, there's a word for this thing, and
beautiful.
It was just this memory of for me the song I was like trying to channel this memory of like when I was a kid, when my grandparents lived to do the groceries, and we come back and it's just like a fucking downpour. Yeah. And we're just like kind of like, for whatever reason, my grandparents, I mean, we maybe were in the van for like 5 minutes, but it felt like an hour. And it was just kind of this weirdly delightful thing of we're just like kind of waiting in the car in the rain, and I've got like a couple, and there's no phones or anything like that. I just got like my fucking Jurassic Park like coloring book, and I'm just okay, well I guess we're just gonna wait here, and it was just like such a like a lovely summer
Yes,
memory.
It's one of those things of like life has imposed its will upon you. You can't, you have to like not get wet or whatever, or you could, but like nature is saying it's going to rain now,
right? Yeah,
and you can't stop the weather from happening. We haven't figured that out yet, and so you're going to be stuck in the car on your coloring book. Or something,
it's like Sweet Santa Petrichor reminds me of time with no control.
Yeah, exactly. Those times of doing nothing are more important than all the times we busy ourselves with a bunch of distractions because we don't want to be alone.
Yeah,
we're so scared to be alone. I will tell you a fun little thing about recording the guitars on this, the electric guitars. I don't know how I could have done this, but we went to the session at Charles's and I actually forgot my Casino. There was
the guitar.
My Epiphone Casino, which had the Bigsby on it, and I was going to use for the big, that like after those drums come in and like just before we kick into the song, and I need that Bigsby to make that sound. And I was like, shit. I don't have my guitar. How in the hell did I forget my guitar today? Mercifully, Charles
just bought that Guild, right?
Yeah, he had a Guild hollow body with a Bigsby. And I was like, thank God that you've got something more or less like this Casino so I can like play the part. We don't have to like wait and come back and whatever, Yeah. So, don't forget your fucking guitar.
Yeah. Also, this is like another interesting tidbit about this record. So like Charles, ever since I have known Charles Murphy, he has, except for one instance, played that Fender Jag bass. And I remember on Spurs of Tour specifically, Benny's mission was to get him to use a different bass, and he failed.
Yeah.
And like he uses a different bass on Falling Out of Love, but that was it. Right.
Yeah.
And on this record, he actually bought like a couple different basses.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he used it on this track specifically, but I was just like thinking about that. It's just like, holy shit! Not only did he not use the Jag on a couple of these, but he had 2, maybe even 3 different basses.
Yeah.
He just like, but I'm just like,
we all evolved.
This pandemic fucked everyone up, didn't it?
In the next episode of the Aloud podcast.
I don't think I ever told you.
No, well, what's funny to me about this is like, I mean, it was the one that was the most like together. Like we both like sat there and like,
it
was like the
most collaborative.
Yeah, it was like Free and the Furious, like line by line, all it was like very
before the pandemic, right?
And I thought like, okay, well, there are 9 songs that we wrote kind of separately, but this is the one that we were like completely whatever, and like you telling me that
eyeball,
but you telling me that it's like even then we were just coming at it from completely different fucking things.
Apollo 6 is out now on vinyl, compact disc, and digital formats at aloud.bandcamp.com.
Have it!